they don't have much of a chance. All right, I want to talk about the Regimental Reconnaissance Company, RRC. I know viewers of this show, obviously, they know about SEAL Team 6, they know about Delta Force, they know about the 24th STS. What people might not know is there are two other special mission units. You have Task Force Orange, or Intelligence Support Activity, and then you have RRC. You're the first RRC guest that has been on this show that stayed at RRC, and I've never really got to talk to anyone about it, and I'm really excited to. So, can you explain what the goal and the main purpose of RRC is?
Yeah, so RRC is a unit that's created to do tactical reconnaissance or like clandestine and AFO type reconnaissance for the Ranger battalions and also for JSOC as well. So they were originally created to support the Ranger battalions, and then later on were asked to do this in support of the rest of JSOC as well. I mean, the cool thing about it is literally you name it, anything you could imagine training wise can be justified. So we got to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, I mean, from lock picking to hacking computers to like learning how to do photo imagery and like alter and edit photos and build reports, to calling in airstrikes, to calling in like naval artillery, to like doing advanced medical procedures and stuff like that. Like we got to do it all. Like every single dude on the team was trained to do pretty much anything. Like we could build and make clandestine cameras and install them and hide them in places where you could never find them. I mean, just lots of cool stuff, man. So I enjoyed it being there.
What can you talk to kind of what the process is in broad terms? You know, don't give anything away like super sensitive, but like if a person wants to join the RRC, maybe they're watching this interview and they always wanted to be a ranger, and now they're learning about this next level up. What's that process look like to getting into the RRC?
So you got to be an NCO, which means like a non-commissioned officer, E5 or above. Typically, you could go there as an E4 with a Ranger tab, kind of like you can go to Delta Force as an E4 with a Ranger tab, but that's pretty rare. You know, you're just still a little too young. Even E5s, it's kind of rare that they even go there. So typically, you want to be in that E5 to E6 range, having some experience. Obviously, when there's no war, you can't have the combat experience, so that's going to be different. But for us, it was like having combat experience, having deployed to combat, having been a leader in combat, and proving like through your ratings that everything was exceptional. Like you had to have like top ratings, and I mean not necessarily, but that's one of the things they look at. So you take all your ratings for the last couple of years, submit that with a packet, and apply. And you could be in any of the special operations units, anywhere in the Army or the Navy, the Air Force. I think they accept from the other branches, but only from SOF. But from the Army, you can be anywhere in the Army, kind of like Delta Force, and come trial for RRC selection.
Oh, really? So you don't even need to be in the Rangers to go to RRC selection. You just have to be in the Army?
Yep, yep. But it's not very often that dudes from the regular Army come. And there were three or four guys, three or four really solid guys, maybe more, that were there when I was there that came from the regular Army. But typically it's guys from the Ranger battalions, and the reason is because so if you're an infantry guy in the 82nd Airborne or 101st, and you were thrown into Ranger battalion, you're not even gonna have a clue what's going on. It's that different. Like the way we do everything is so much different. So, like the RRC guys are expected to understand how a line Ranger battalion functions, operates, and needs to hit a target, because you got to provide intelligence that's valuable to those guys. So those guys have a learning curve, but it's not impossible. But you could come from any unit and then put in the packet, and then if accepted, then you get a date to attend selection, and the selection is done in the spring or the fall. The selection and the pipeline are based off of Delta forces. I mean, really, the selection for the most part is the pipeline's different because you're training different things, but the selection for RRC is based off of Delta forces selection. So do it in the spring and the fall in the mountains of North Georgia, because we want to test guys, and the best way that we found to test guys is to give them a task to navigate, so they're having to think, use their brain, do mathematics and angles and stuff like that on a map while stressed, and walk long distances and make it accurately to a point. So we're stressing the body physically and we're stressing the body mentally over the course of selection. And you'll walk, if a guy gets accepted, they're going to go in, they're going to do tons of psychological evals, IQ tests, aptitude tests, and all that stuff by a psych from the regiment. They take that stuff and put that into your packet, as well as your critiques and all of your ratings from all your career. That goes into your packet. Then you do the PT test, which, just the basic physical standards: 2 mile run, push-ups, sit-ups, 5 mile run, all that stuff, 12 mile ruck march. You do all that, and obviously the better you score, the better off you're going to be. So, and you got the baddest dudes on planet Earth trying out for this. So achieving that, even a 80% or 90% ain't going to cut it. You need to like blow it out of the water. So physically you get tested, and then you go into what they call the stress phase, which is the last entire like couple weeks of the thing, where you're just doing navigation, land navigation, walking anywhere from 18 to 20 something miles a day, with the last day being around roughly 40-mile walk with a rucksack on. So,
And what would you say, if you had to guess, the attrition rate is? If you had 100 guys trying out, what percentage of those guys are going to be able to make it through selection and then the pipeline when it's all said and done?
so for example, my selection class, I think, had roughly 20 something dudes in it. Out of those 20 something dudes, there was 2, I think, regular Army dudes that came. And then the rest were dudes from Ranger Battalion. Only 8 finished. Like, I mean, physically completed it. They either quit or withdrew medically. Or yeah, most of them just quit. They're just like, I can't do this anymore. It's a lot of walking. So we only had 8 finish. Then at the end of it, you go into a board, where there's all of the top dudes, like the team sergeants, the sergeant major, the first sergeant, the commanders, and all from RRC sitting there, grilling you on everything that you did during the course, plus your entire military career. And they dig on you. Once you get a packet, they start digging on you before you even show up. So they're trying to catch you slipping, catch dirt on you and stuff like that, just to hold you accountable. So you attend that board, and then after that board, the 8 of us that attended the board, only 4 were selected. So only 4 got selected out of my selection. And then we were put together with 5 dudes from the fall selection, the previous fall selection. So we had 9 guys going into the OTC course, which is, I think now it's right about a year, 11, 12 months long. When I went through, I think it was like 7 or 8 months long. But we went through the OTC pipeline, and during OTC, they call it RTC now, Reconnaissance Training Course, but it was called OTC, like CAGs, like Operator Training Course at the time. You go through the OTC pipeline, you're trained on all these different things, and you're evaluated on that. Physical fitness is on your own, because they expect you to operate on your own at this unit, as a team potentially, but a lot of times on your own. So physical fitness is on your own. They give us a program, and we had to wear these watches that track everything we do physically. And then that was like your report card for your workout. So if you weren't doing the workouts you're supposed to be doing, they would catch you, and then critique you on it. But then each phase, you would go through that board again and be evaluated on whether you should be there, and dudes drop out. So out of the 9 dudes that got selected that went into OTC, I think we had 4 that actually got selected at the end of OTC.
So the attrition rate is crazy, crazy high. I mean, that means a whole lot of people aren't making it. This might sound like a little bit of a strange question, but does your quality of life improve once you get to a special mission unit? I mean, are you able to, are the grooming standards still there? Do you have more freedoms, not as rigorous? What would you say about that?
Yeah, that was the biggest reason for going there. Because in Ranger Battalion, yeah, you're allowed to be a free thinker, but you have to dress a certain way, have to look a certain way. And then there's, you can speak out, but everything's kind of more so much in like a cookie cutter box for the most part. Whereas like the special mission units, it's a little bit more like that. And RRC was wide open. I mean, we were given so much leeway. A lot of our mission sets, they were like, hey, here's a mission. And it was sometimes super vague. And we're like, hey, how can we accomplish this? They're like, just figure it out. And so we would figure it out however we wanted within legal parameters. So we had a lot more freedom. We had a lot more funding. We had, the freedom of the grooming stuff. I don't think I rarely ever wore a uniform, like even stateside. We had beards and long hair. A lot of times we kept them shorter like this, our beards shorter like this. And until we get ready to go overseas, we grow them out a little bit longer. Sometimes I would even shave them off to change up my look for stuff that we did stateside. but we could have a beard and we could have longer hair well outside of the regs. I mean, there was dudes that had hair this long in the reconnaissance company right before I got there. So yeah, it was pretty chill.
So what base are you located out at this point in time? Are you still in Georgia?
Yeah, we were still in Georgia there at Fort Benning.
So if you are walking around base and you got long hair and a beard, does anyone ever stop you and say, why are you not to grooming standards? And then you got to explain to them, or they just leave you alone?
Most of the time, they just leave you alone because they have no clue. They think you're a contractor or something like that. Typically, like when I saw these dudes, I thought they were like CIA dudes. I'm like, who are these dudes that look like CIA guys walking around here? I had no clue until I got there because that's how secretive the reconnaissance company is, even within the regiment. The dudes in the regiment don't even know what the dudes actually do on teams. It's that secretive. I mean, I used to tell guys in the battalions, and they've gotten better about that. But I used to talk to the battalion guys like, hey, this is what we do, and explain it to them so that we could get more dudes because we were always short on guys. But yeah, we had tons of freedoms. We Man, I planned my own deployments a lot of times. Like I planned my flight overseas on the deployments. I planned my flights in country. Like, I mean, literally everything we did was kind of on you. So it was cool.